Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Sorry, we're running just a couple of minutes late, but there was no car parking spaces, so... Right, welcome to tonight's Human Resources and Council Tax Committee meeting. Before we start, can I just say item 5 and 6 we're going to swap round just so that Lewis can get home again. So we're just going to swap those two round, if that's okay with you. Okay, right. Item 1, apologies for absence and substitutions.
Thank you, Chair. I've received apologies from the Vice Chairman, Councillor Calver and Councillor Morrison with no substitutions.
Item 2, minutes of the last meeting. To confirm and sign as a correct record the minutes of the last meeting. Thank you. And can I have a seconder? Thank you. Everyone agree? Thank you. Right, item 3, declarations of interest. Just to remind you to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests, other registrable interests or non-registrable interests, either now or as we go through. Thank you. Item 4, questions on notice pursuant to Council Procedure Rule 38.
Thank you, Chair. There are no questions.
Thank you. Right, so I'm going to jump to item 6, which is the report of the Corporal Director, Finance and IT. A1, formal confirmation of the council tax amounts for 2026-27 following the notification of the precepts from the major precepting authorities, and I believe that's Lewis.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. So the purpose of this report this evening is to confirm the final council tax amounts for the 26-27 financial year. So effectively, this report marks the end or the conclusion of budget setting for the 6-7 financial year. So Tendring Council, along with the major precepting authorities on this council's collection fund, those being Essex County Council, Essex Fire, Essex Police, and of course parishes, each of those bodies have set their budget for the upcoming financial year, and as part of that they will have set their council tax amounts. What this report does, because we're the collection authority, we're responsible for collecting the council tax amounts, what this report does is it aggregates all of those council tax amounts set individually by those bodies, brings them together into aggregated totals, and so the recommendations put forward as part of this report are to note the precepts set by the major precepting bodies and also to confirm the council tax amounts for 26-27. The recommendations are on page 13 and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No. Okay, everybody agree? Thanks very much. That's nice. Are you leaving us now? Thank you. Right, going back to agenda item 5, which is the career track verbal update, which I believe is Debbie Ann.
Thank you very much. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. So first of all, I'm going to share, and you might have to bear with me for a second. There we are. I'm going to share with you the number of apprentices and previous entry-level apprentices that are currently working in Tendring District Council. So when I say entry level, I mean levels 2 and 3. So these are either apprentices, 95, possibly a bit more apprentices from Career Track that are actually on an apprenticeship programme, or apprentices that joined the council and undertook a level 2 or 3 apprenticeship with Career Track that are still employed in the council. So these can be, for example, Lewis, who joined us probably 10 years ago as a Career Track apprentice at level 2. So I've broken it down into departments. So within the Chief Executive's department, we have 49. In Operations and Delivery, we have 42. Place and Economy, we have 13. And Planning and Community, we have 12. Now, I've actually broken this down into ones and twos as well, but I won't go into that. But if you wanted it in slightly sectioned out, I can go down into more detail. So just for Chief Exec's department, which is where the People department is, Finance and IT, out of the 49, they have 23 apprentices or ex-apprentices. Law and Governance, 8. And in the People department, we have 18. And that's either 18, which includes current apprentices or ex-apprentices that are now employed within the People department. Any questions?
Madam Chairman, thank you very much. And yes, thank you, Debian. You took the wind out of what I was going to ask you. Well, in part really, because it's great. Just demonstrate how important career track is to the authority, and later in the report on the agenda will be some other reference to that. It would be really, really good to understand. This is great. This is really nice because we know that there are people that are in the organisation on a higher, on a senior, very, very senior role, and also other people that have moved on from the, especially those in the Chief Executive department, and I'm going to name her, Sophie Sirvixen, who went to work for a very prestigious London law firm, I believe. It was a law firm, I think it was. And she's actually been shining her career through. And it would be quite good at some stage, don't expect in the next few weeks, just to have a bit of a stock take where all these excellent people have made, where they've gone, or they become themselves, if they become, you know, PA to whoever, it would be quite, we know of our own, are in, and I won't name him because he always gets mentioned, and he, Gary. But it would be really, really useful for us because also there's an ulterior motive for that. And I'm delighted that, again, I think it will be mentioned later on that some money, extra money been allocated in the budget for career track. Going forward in the LGR, this could be a really good model to be used throughout the joint combined authorities, not just Tangent, because it doesn't exist anywhere else, you know. So that paid off dividends when we kind of placed it up, and, you know, that's been recognised. So it would be really good because that'll be real hard evidence of justifying the importance of this. Thank you.
We actually do have that information. I just haven't brought it with me today. Katie, you have that information. Would you like me to share it for the minutes?
No,
Absolutely. I can do that tomorrow. No. It won't be with individual names, but it will have. Yeah, absolutely.
Do we work with the sixth form college at Colchester or with apprenticeships? It's just that I don't know whether it's back to being in business. I get emails once a month about apprenticeship schemes and things through the college. And do we work along with, not with them?
They are classed as one of our partners. But we don't deliver apprenticeships at the Sixth Form College. We're only in the public sector. We have done previously, and obviously we work very closely with Colchester Institute, but not specifically the Sixth Form College.
We work with the Institute as well, and we're still working with them, so that's still going on. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. We work very closely with them.
From them also, so.
I think some of our members of staff are undertaking apprenticeships at Colchester Institute. So yeah, they're one of our delivery partners, aren't they? Yeah. I have a video to share now. Second part of my presentation. I'm going to share a video of the activities that Career Track undertook during National Apprenticeship Week, which was in the middle of February. There we go.
Yeah, career track has been super helpful. My assessor has been brilliant, to be honest. Able to choose easily contactable whenever I'm struggling. She's been there for a call. Great experience all around.
Apprentices gain meaningful work experience alongside qualifications, which improve long-term employability and their skills for life.
Sorry, Madam Chairman, but I just really wanted to ask Debbie Ann. I've sat on the co-parenting panel at County Council since I was a County Council there, and it is not something commonly known what the work that this panel does. One of the biggest challenges is to get children in care when they leave care to get employment. We have continuously, and I'm not sure whether we're going to get lucky before County Council get dismantled, but free transport is one of the biggest problems for children care that leave when they leave care. And I just wondered if the council's ever given any thought whether we could give some preferential or priority treatment to children in care who are looking for employment, and whether that can be fine-tuned with the county council. I know tendering is always at the forefront of this, and there's no other district that have this available to them. I just wondered what your thoughts were.
Firstly, we pay transport costs for all of our apprentices that are on apprenticeship contracts. That's something that the council does, and I'm not aware that any other authority does that. So that's something that tendering has always done. We have the potential to, I'm looking at Marcia, we have the potential to follow Essex County Council's line, which is giving guaranteed interview status to care leavers, and I wonder if that's something we could discuss at another time. Don't see that that would be an issue at all. And I think we would welcome the opportunity to do that. So, thank you.
That would be absolutely wonderful, and maybe we could keep in touch on that.
Absolutely.
That'd be lovely. Thanks so much indeed. Thank you. And thank you for the report you've given us tonight.
I'm quite happy to make a recommendation that we make it an agenda item at a future meeting so that we're kept to the date. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, I'm quite happy to move the recommendation, but I do need a seconder for it. And yeah, can't. Yeah. I assume you all agree to that. Yep. Thank you. Right, item 7, report of the Assistant Director, People A2, People Development Update, and it's pages 25 to 36 for recommendations on page 30, and I think that's Marcia.
Thank you, Chair. The People Development Update report outlines the Council's training and development activity for our staff, covering the period of the 1st of July to 31st of December 2025. The report highlights progress, key achievements and priorities as we strive to place our staff in the best possible position ahead of the proposed local government reorganisation. Our focus continues to be building a skilled, motivated and resilient workforce aligned to the people strategy. This includes mandatory training, professional development, apprenticeships and career graded pathways. All of this aims to support service quality, strengthen succession planning and ensure our staff are well prepared for the transition to the Unitary Authority. As we've heard this evening, Career Track continues to be a strong asset for the Council, delivering apprenticeships internally and supporting other public sector partners. However, our staff also engage in externally delivered apprenticeships from level 2 to level 7, funded through the government levy, which covers a broad range of specialist areas, including planning, environmental health, IT, legal, finance, leisure and horticulture. The Council continues to utilise 100% of its levy funding to maximise internal workforce development, including drawing on levy transfers from other organisations to maximise training opportunities. Prior to the government change in January, where we saw the removal of level 7 funding for employees aged over 22, we successfully enrolled a further 4 additional apprentices. Our e-learning training continues to be delivered through the iHasco and SkillGoat systems, covering both mandatory and developmental courses. And for the 6-month reporting period, staff have completed over 1,300 e-learning courses, with 191 types of courses being accessed. Course completions were slightly lower than the previous reported period, which was expected, due to the period excluding the induction of our seasonal staff. Both platforms continue to provide cost-effective, self-paced learning, which are also really easily accessible. Staff continue to be encouraged to undertake professional qualifications to support their development in their roles. All sponsored learning is supported by a training agreement, enabling the Council to recover costs if employees leave within 2 years or do not complete their course, thus protecting the public purse. This work directly strengthens organisational capacity, specifically around leadership and capability development. The Council continues to operate 357 career graded posts, with 26 staff progressing in the last 6 months through their career grade schemes. This internal career grade progression supports staff retention and reduces the reliance on agency staff in those hard to recruit areas. Over the next 2 years, we'll continue to focus on preparing our workforce for LGR by maintaining investment in qualifications, e-learning, apprenticeships and developing our staff. The recommendations for this report can be found on page 30 of your agenda pack, and it is recommended that the content of this People Development Update report be noted by the committee. I'd welcome any questions, Chair.
Thank you. Can I just ask the 4 additional level 7 apprentices, what are they studying?
We had 2 in environmental health, we had 1 in law, and I think we had 1 in planning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia, for your presentation. Couple of questions. Planning environmental health officers, you've touched on that. Are we fulfilling our need for that? You know, do we have enough on that? Be good to understand your thing. And how do we fare compared to other authorities on the e-learning platforms? It's, you know, the figures in here, they're brilliant, you know, because I mean, you can't argue against those at all. And considering the cost, it makes a very good value for money because of what you get out of it, you know. But how do we compare with other authorities? You know where I'm going, don't you? Namely, for the benefit of record, Colchester and Braintree.
Both Colchester and Braintree use slightly different e-learning systems to us, so I'm exploring their systems as well at the moment because one of our contracts is due for renewal later this year, and I don't want to just automatically renew our contract because we've used that system. I want to see what else is out there and if there's anything comparable. We know that the systems we use at the moment are really successful and the staff like using them and they engage with them, and especially iHasco allows our health and safety staff to be able to do presentations of that system as well. So it's quite user-friendly for our managers. but I'm definitely open to exploring to see Colchester and Braintree systems, and that's part of our ongoing work in developing. Before we agree to improve any contracts with those, we'll be exploring their systems as well.
Success on food, you know, the health, environmental officer and planning.
So I think one of the areas where we know we struggle is around environmental health officers, and the environmental health officers we have at the moment have all been homegrown in that team. I had a meeting with their manager last week, and that was a conversation that we were having around, because we know we have some very difficult to fill, and it's a national issue, it's not just the tendering area. We push really hard on getting those career graded posts in and supporting our staff with their professional development, because also I think it increases our retention of staff if they've had that investment as well. It kind of buys a little bit of loyalty in return. So the team that we have at the moment, a really good positive team, but they've all been kind of ingrown internally.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Guglielmi. I'd just like to make the point that members will recall a number of years ago we had a considerable number of agency staff, both in our planning teams and in our environmental health teams. We have done a considerable amount of work in terms of growing our own, as you know, and to in maintaining that talent pipeline. So we've always got people coming through the system, and obviously those that are more developed then go on to mentor those coming through the system. So although, you know, we will, when we need to, call upon agency staff, where we've been on a huge journey in terms of, you know, switching those off, and we now, I think we've got one in planning as it stands, and possibly one that we use, you know, on a kind of as and when needed place in environmental health.
Can I just also pick up on the point we're making about the career graded posts? I think one of the things that we're really strong at is developing our own staff. And I was saying in the report, you'll see we've got 357 career graded posts in our organisation. And in that 6-month period that I was monitoring between July and December, 26 staff have met the criteria to progress within their grade. Braintree have 6 career graded posts, and Colchester don't operate career graded schemes by comparison.
Is there any other questions? Okay, the recommendation, as Marcia said, is on page 30, and it's recommended that the contents of this People Development Update report be noted. Are you all happy? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I lost my place. Oh, very important. Right, item 8 is the report of the Assistant Director, People A3, and it's the pay policy statement for 2026-27, pages 37 to 62. Recommendations are on page 39, and I think that's you, Katie.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening again, members. So members will recall that the production of an annual pay policy statement is a statutory requirement under the Localism Act 2011. So it's something we have to do year on year. This ensures that the council maintains transparent, fair and legally compliant pay arrangements. After the presentation, the committee will be asked to review and comment on the draft pay policy statement ahead of its presentation to full council. The pay policy reflects the national pay position. As members will recall, we're part of national terms and conditions in the main. So you will see that one of the key changes in the 26-27 statement is the implementation of the 25-26 NJC pay award, the National Joint Council pay award. At the time of writing, the 26-27 pay award is yet to be determined. But what happens in terms of the 25-26 award, it was agreed last year that from the 1st of April this year, spinal column point 2, so that's the lowest pay spine that we use currently within the council, that is removed from our pay spine and also removed from the pay spine nationally. So anybody on that pay spine will automatically be assimilated across to SCP 3, which is good news because it obviously uplifts our lowest pay point. The statement also includes updated pay multiple calculations, and what that does is look at our lowest paid employees in terms of a calculation against our highest paid employees. And we have to do that under the legislation. The statement also includes our updated gender pay gap and the narrative around that. And as you would expect, because we are part of national terms and conditions and the way we are structured, our pay gap is very minimal. And when we look at it in comparison to the national average, to our neighbouring authorities, we are, you know, at the very lowest in terms of that possible disparity. Other minor updates are to ensure clarity, accuracy and consistency, and also there is a reference in the statement to our continued use of the Essex County Council managed service solution for temporary staffing, and that's to ensure that we have the best possible efficiency if we do need agency staff. So rather than do it on an agency by agency basis, we use an established framework that ECC has, and if we're looking for specialist resource, they will support us in that search. And it means we get, because we're kind of buying on a bigger scale, it means that we get cost efficiency around that and a better pool of candidates as well. So the updated pay policy 2627 reaffirms the authority's commitment, as I said, to fair, transparent and nationally aligned pay structures. It meets the requirements of the Local Government Transparency Code. It reflects benchmarking outcomes from Local Government East, including against neighbouring authorities. And I've explained to members previously, we are part of a benchmarking system via East of England LGA, and we will feed into our pay arrangements into that, and we're able to benchmark our position against neighbouring authorities and regional authorities as well. And that also helps us when we're looking at whether market forces payments should be applied or not. And we've just mentioned, Councillor Guglielmi, those hard to fill areas and where we have recruitment challenges, and those challenges are national. It just helps us have a view of, you know, where those problems sit and make sure that we're preparing and we've got arrangements in place. Obviously, the whole policy position supports our stability in terms of, you know, our organisational stability, making sure that we have fair pay and reward. It supports our recruitment efforts, as I've just said, and also supports the retention of our staff in what can be a very competitive market in those areas such as I've described. And most importantly, it ensures that we have a robust pay framework ahead of local government reorganisation. And I know, Councillor Guglielmi, you'll ask me if I've looked at the Colchester and Braintree documentation, and I have. And ours, you know, ours fits very much in alignment with theirs. So just for ease of reading, all amendments are shown in red text within the statement. And the committee are asked to, as I said, consider whether it has any comments to make on the draft pay policy statement for 26-27, and whether it recommends the statement to full council, and that full council meeting is on the 31st of March 2026, whereby the statement will be approved.
Thank you. I think we should also add in there that you work very closely with the unions on all of these documents. So I think that should be written in there. So, I'm sure I haven't read it, but I might have missed it. So, but I think it's something that should be stated, that we do work really closely with the unions. So that people have. Councillor Guglielmi, have you any questions, or has Katie answered your question for you?
She has answered one of the questions, yeah. Couple of things. I know with great delight the deletion of SB SP2, and that's now the lowest bin will be SP3, and even that at the moment, tendering rate is like just over 24,800. Whether having looked at the national thing, is between 22,900 and 23,600. So we're already above that, and you know it puts us, even those in the lowest thing, a lot better than the national average. Apprenticeship rates, they're not much can be done to that. The government mandated those, you know. And again, are ours the same anywhere else, or is there? Can you manipulate them at all? You know, can you do above to what the national is recommended? It's my first one. On page 57, it talks about the median bonus now equal to male and female. That is correct. Now, the bonus are exactly the same now, yeah, which is excellent news again, given the disparity that unfortunately have, because that's so that is confirmed. And I just really wanted to understand on page 58, it talks about the review of data that linked to the gender pay gap. How often is that carried out, and in what shape does that happen?
Thank you, Councillor Guglielmi, and I'll answer a couple of your questions, if I may, and then I will pass over to Debbie Ann in terms of the apprenticeship rates of pay. But for us, they are sort of government rates that we do apply. So just in terms of our gender pay gap reporting, we do that once a year. And we're required by legislation to undertake an analysis of our gender pay gap reporting. And you're absolutely right that if you look at our average bonus pay, there is a slight differential. But if you look at the median, which is a much clearer picture because it takes the middle picture of the data set, our bonus pay differential is 0. So you're absolutely right in that. In terms of our slight imbalance in terms of pay quartiles, as outlined elsewhere, that is just purely down to our staffing structure and the way that we have a number of apprentices, and obviously that gender balance is not necessarily balanced and at that lowest quartile, and then the higher quartile, which is our most senior team, there are more males than females. So it's just the data that sets that very, very minimal imbalance. It's not that there is an imbalance that exists. So, sorry, you asked me one other thing apart from the apprenticeship rates. Thank you. And I'll just hand over to Debbie Ann, if I may, just to give a bit more context regarding the apprenticeship rates for pay. Thank you.
The current national minimum wage for apprentices, the minimum you're allowed to pay them is £7.55, and that is rising to £8.10 on the 1st of August. In Tendring District Council, we pay that rate. We tend to have more 17, 18-year-olds, and that is an appropriate rate for them. They are quite happy with that. Colchester pay the national minimum wage. So they pay £10, £11 for their apprentices, but they often have level 3 apprenticeship programmes and are attracting an older apprentice. Braintree, I'm not too sure. Do we know? I think Braintree pay the same as us. Again, it's a discussion that perhaps we need to be having with Colchester and Braintree about how that's going to look going forward.
Mr. Chairman. Invariably, you need to be all on the same page, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's really, there's a narrative there, isn't there?
And of course, we pay travel expenses, which Colchester and Braintree don't. So that makes it a little bit more attractive for our apprentices.
I wasn't aware that the council pays travel
expenses. Yeah. The department that employs the apprentice pays it out of their travel subsistence fund.
Thank you, Councillor Guglielmi. And The only other thing that I just wanted to mention was, in terms of our apprentices, obviously we have a much higher number of apprentices within the organisation than our neighbouring authorities. So again, of course, if we decided to make any decisions around pay arrangements, we have to consider that we have a larger number of apprentices, and obviously we have a finite budget. Even though, really good news, as you started by saying this evening, that full council did agree some additional funding for our apprenticeship salaries, which is great news. It means we can have more apprentices. But as I say, we have to work within the budget position that we have. So any decision making will have to consider, our desire to give opportunity against our financial position.
Just put on record our thanks to the leader who manages finance for having included in the cabinet, for having supported the extra money for Career Track. I thought it was marvellous. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other questions? No? Your recommendations are on page 39. And I will need a proposer and seconder, please. Carlo. Yeah, Gemma? Yeah? And do you all agree that we recommend it goes on to full council? Yeah. Thank you. Item 9, the report of the Assistant Director People A4, Safeguarding Policy and Procedures and Safeguarding Handbook for Staff. And it's pages 63 to 112. Recommendations are on page 64. And I think that's Katie again. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And I would just like to say thank you to Leanne for attending this evening. Leanne is our designated safeguarding lead. So if members have any questions regarding the application of our policy, then obviously Leanne would be happy to answer those. But I just want to talk to you about the safeguarding handbook for staff. And what that document does is it provides updated operational workforce procedures. And it also completes the Council's safeguarding framework following Cabinet's approval of the strategic policy, and that approval was given at the Cabinet meeting on the 30th of January 2026. But the most important thing this document does, it ensures that staff know how to recognise, report and respond to safeguarding concerns confidently and consistently, and staff have always been able to do that and had the support to do that. But members will see in the handbook the way that it's designed, the way that it's laid out is so that it's very user friendly, so it gives a clear kind of instruction manual, if you like, for ease of, I'm concerned about something, how do I respond? So the handbook aligns with the latest legislation and national guidance, as you would expect. It reaffirms our structure, our governance structure, and also key roles and responsibilities when dealing with safeguarding concerns. And as I said, it provides step-by-step operational procedures, standardising our safeguarding practice across all of our council services. So again, making sure we have one uniformed approach that's easy to apply. It gives clear practical guidance for our employees and our managers. So if our managers have any concerns regarding employees, and as I say, strengthens consistency and accountability. The benefits of adopting the safeguarding handbook are that, as I say, in strengthening our organisational approach, it helps us reduce corporate risk, it helps us reduce harm, if we do have concerns. It enables consistent safe practice all across the organisation, as I said previously. It supports our mandatory training, and all of our staff are expected to undertake mandatory safeguarding training. Builds confidence and clarity, as I said, amongst the workforce, and reinforces our strong safeguarding culture. And as I say, safeguarding is something that the organisation takes very, very seriously. as I mentioned, Leanne is our designated safeguarding lead. I have responsibility for the safeguarding of the workforce. So the committee is asked to approve the safeguarding handbook for staff, noting its alignment between the operational procedures and the strategic safeguarding policy, which was approved by Cabinet, and also notes that this completes the Council's updated safeguarding framework, but it will continue to be kept under review. And formal recommendations can be found on page 64 of the report pack. Thank you.
I'd like to just say, reading it, how easy it is to read. So different from the old ones that, you know, you were jumping from page to page, not quite certain where you were heading, but this is really good. Okay, is there any questions? Councillor Baker.
Not a question, Chair, as such, but more of a comment that both the policy that Cabinet approved, I'd say back in January, it seems like yesterday, doesn't it? Excellent document, and the actual handbook is easy to read, easy to understand, a vital piece of documentation that this council needs, and I'm quite happy to move the recommendations when it comes to it. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Guglielmi.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Yeah, congratulations to whoever put this together. I think Leanne had quite a lot of it's got Leanne in print on this. You can't see it. It's great. It's really easy to follow. In case you have, God forbid, have to make use of that, you know exactly what to do, and it's very, very clear. Couple of comments. On page 85, it talks about elected members training. I don't recall us having had a lot of training recently on this, so it might be something that would be quite good to note.
Sorry, can you just repeat what page?
85.
85.
I don't expect an answer tonight because obviously that needs to, well, probably got one. Okay. On page 102, which is in the handbook itself, it would be quite good to include elected members in there because it talks about staff, but also safeguarding does refer to elected members as well. So that would be quite good to include and make reference to that, which links in with the training. And one last point, probably outside of your remit, but I'll make the point anyway. Those of us who are dual hatters, they've got a record of trainings on another authority. And it would be really, really good to marry the two up together because there is quite a lot that is relevant to this committee that I've done elsewhere, but we've not necessarily done it here in Tenby. So, again, I don't expect the thing overnight. Just to explore that option to do, because it's right when people look on the website to see what proficiency, you know, members have in that. So, something for you to look at. But no, that's absolutely great, and congratulations for producing such a first-class document. Well done.
And then I'll hand over to you, if I may. But very good point, Councillor Guglielmi. And strangely enough, we've already had a conversation when these documents went through our senior management team. It was recognised that actually it might be quite useful for members to undertake some safeguarding training and have somebody come into an all-member briefing and actually facilitate that session. Now, Leanne and I can run that, but actually it's always good to have a third party to test things out on, isn't it? So, you know, Ian had already asked me, as you would expect, Ian had already asked me to look into that. So I'm looking at a provider as we speak to facilitate that session. That's probably news to Leanne. But also, obviously, we'll be looking at a future all-member briefing date as well. And I'll note your comments regarding your training records, and I'll take that away and see what can be done. Okay? I'll hand over to Leanne now, if I may, Chair. Thank you.
I do, because, and I should declare that I'm the Vice Chairman of the People and Family Committee, Essex, and safeguarding both adults and children are very much part of the remit, and I'm on the lead members there that whenever it comes to scrutiny. It's become very apparent that the Adult Safeguarding Board does a huge amount of work for a shoestring budget. So they will be writing to all the councils. It's the recommendation we will support with Deborah Angus, the chairperson of the Adult Safeguarding Board. They're quite likely to be losing a member of staff if funding is not identified. So she'll be writing to all the authorities for everyone to chip in. At the moment, authorities chip in about £1,200 each, which is really a drop in the ocean, considering the amount of work it does, because it's not an Essex Fund, well, although it's an independent panel, it does affect our residents. You know, Essex residents are tendering residents. It's something that our Chief Executive is very passionate about. So that would be awful if a body that works extremely well would lose an officer, which would mean a lot of the reviews will not be carried out, and with all the consequential spin-off from that, you know. And so it's just really putting on, and just really want to like Leanne's view on that. And I know we did this a long time ago, I think, when we had the portfolio for a brief time on the community safety. So I'd be interested in your comments, Leanne. Thank you.
We work very closely with both the adults and the children's safeguarding boards, and I was aware that we do pay a contribution to both boards every year. All of the designated safeguarding leads across Essex have really good contact with the boards, and we have quarterly meetings where we all get together and the board gives us training and updates us on any relevant legislation changes. It also asks us to carry out an audit of our own areas every year, and we can feed that back into both the safeguarding children and adult boards. So we have a really close link with them, and we work with them all the time. And I think it's on the 9th of March, the safeguarding boards are coming to Tendring to do a North Stay Safe conference, and they've got about 120 people that deal with safeguarding right across the board coming to the Princess Theatre on that day to do a Stay Safe conference for all safeguarding leads across the North East of Essex. So that just shows how closely we work really with both the boards, and yeah, it would be a real shame to lose that consistency at county, because they're really helpful when we need them. They really do help us out, so it'd be a shame if they were to lose staff, but yeah.
Thank you very much.
Right, we've already had a proposer. I need a seconder, please. Okay. And do you all agree? Yeah, thank you. Right, item 10 is the report of the Assistant Director People, A5, updated Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Policy, pages 113 to 126, and the recommendations are on page 114, and I think that's Marcia. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This item presents the Council's updated Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Policy, which sets out our responsibilities under the Equality Act 2010 and our commitment to being an inclusive and fair employer. The updated policy reaffirms the Council's commitment to eliminate unlawful discrimination, harassment and victimisation, advance equality of opportunity for all staff, foster good relations between people with protected characteristics and those without, and also supports the Council's responsibilities as outlined within the Corporate Equality and Inclusion Strategy, which is in place until 2027. The policy applies to everyone working with or for the Council, including employees, agency workers, contractors, volunteers, and also our apprentices. The Council's key commitments include creating a workplace that values diversity and treats all our individuals with both dignity and respect, ensuring recruitment and progression decisions are based solely on merit using fair and inclusive selection methods, and making reasonable adjustments for disabled employees with no cost being passed to that individual. The Council continues to maintain our Level 3 status as a disability confident leader. For reference, Colchester City Council currently hold Level 2 and Braintree District Council currently hold Level 1. The updated policy reflects the requirements of the Equality Act 2010, which protects 9 characteristics and also reinforces the Council's responsibilities under the public sector equality duty, including the need to eliminate discrimination, advance equality and foster good relations. The Council will continue to collect and publish workforce diversity data to ensure we identify trends and support inclusive decision making. This includes the annual publication of the gender pay gap data and ongoing monitoring across age, gender, disability and ethnicity. The Council will also continue to publish equality objectives at least every 4 years. In summary, this updated policy strengthens our approach to fairness, inclusion and accessibility, ensuring we meet our statutory responsibilities as a Council and uphold an inclusive workplace culture. The recommendations for this report can be found on page 114 of your agenda pack, and it is recommended that the Human Resources and Council Tax Committee approves and adopts the Council's updated Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Policy, notes that in line with their delegated authority, the Assistant Director of People, in consultation with the Head of Paid Service, will make any necessary amendments to associated people policies arising from this update, and notes that in line with the same delegated authority, the Assistant Director of People will make any further amendments required to ensure ongoing legal compliance, including with the Employment Rights Act 2025. I would welcome any questions, Chair.
Councillor Baker.
Just a couple questions, Chair, if I may. I know actually in the policy there's no mention of a review in the future. Just wondering if that comes under the delegation C, or should there be a sort of 3-year, 2-year, whatever review time? And also it mentions the strategy, which expires, if that's the right word, at the end of 2027, which was a 5-year strategy. I just wonder what the intention, bearing in mind we're not actually discussing the strategy, but what is the intention prior to LGR? Are we going to put forward another 5-year strategy to Cabinet, or one with a shorter time frame, bearing in mind that what we're looking at the moment with LGR? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. And just to answer your first question, because especially with the Employment Rights Act, things change so quickly, that's why there is that last recommendation to make sure that the team stay up to date with any changes in terms of legislation that must be applied to the policy. So that will have constant review in terms of things that are changing in a statutory environment. Around the strategy, we're very conscious that it does need to be reviewed in 2027, and Marcy is already in conversation, as you would expect, with Colchester and Braintree around their strategy position. And I think that's something that we're going to have to talk to Cabinet about at the time, because that's obviously an executive function, as you know. So we would need to decide sort of, you know, organisationally how we want to proceed. Now, I'll sort of quote Ian's reference where he says we don't want everything to fall, you know, from the 1st of April 2028. So we, as I say, we just need to give that some thought. But just to reassure you around this document, it will be, as are our other policies, you know, I have that delegation so we can make sure that we sort of horizon scan and things are updated in line with legislation.
I've got another real question on the actual policy, because it's black and white and it's great. The one thing I just would be quite good for future when it comes, because it'll come again next year, isn't it? Just to include some quotes from some of our staff who are benefited. I know of a couple that are very grateful for the support they've been given. And that would make this come to life a little bit, you know, to include some quotes from those who are directly affected, and happy to move it. Thank you.
Chair, if I can just follow up on Councillor Baker's question as well. We're quite fortunate in that we have two documents. We have a corporate strategy around equality and inclusion, and then we have a separate policy for employment. Colchester and Braintree don't have that in place. So I have, as Katie says, I've already had conversations, I've had copies of their documents prior to writing this. And they're quite keen to see what we're going to be putting in place. And I've said once it's been approved by our committee, I would be happy to share that with them. Because they have only a corporate document in place, they don't have a separate employment. So that would be something I think we as a council would be keen to move forward with, because it focuses purely on our staffing and the impacts of equality in the workplace. And then we look at it as an organisation as a whole and the service that we deliver. And I don't think we want to move from that structure. I think that works really well for us. I think it's quite robust moving forward. So I think that would be something I would be working with Colchester and Braintree to move forward with. When we look at the review for 2027. And I've already started having those discussions with them, because that will come around very quickly and we need to get a draft document, I think, prepped, ready to bring back to you both. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. Did I have a proposer or I can't, no? Okay, and I need a seconder again, Councillor Baker. And everyone in agreement? Thank you. Right, item 11. Report of the Assistant Director People, A6, Time Off and Facilities Agreement for Trade Union Duties and Activities. Pages 127, 144, and the recommendations are on page 127 and 128, and I think that's Marcia again. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me. This item presents the updated Time Off and Facilities Agreement for Trade Union Duties and Activities. The policy is based on the Unison model for Time Off and Facilities Agreement, which the Council has adapted for our local use. The agreement sets out how we support accredited trade union representatives in carrying out their duties in line with statutory requirements and ACAS guidance. The updated agreement ensures that trade union representatives have fair and consistent access to paid time off and appropriate facilities so they can effectively represent council employees. This supports good employee relations, early resolution of workplace issues, and constructive partnership working between the council and Unison. The agreement applies only to accredited Unison representatives formally elected or appointed by the union and notified to the council. These individuals act as the official representatives of the union's membership within the organisation. Accredited union representatives are entitled to reasonable paid time off to carry out their duties, such as collective bargaining, representing individual members, participating in disciplinary and grievances processes, preparing for negotiations, and attending union meetings and communications activities. Paid time off is also available for wider activities, including branch or regional meetings, policy-making bodies, and recruitment of new members. The agreement confirms additional statutory entitlements for health and safety representatives, union learning representatives, and with effect from October, as part of the new legislation, union equality representatives, allowing them time to investigate issues, consult with council, and promote learning, equality and safety across the workforce. Union representatives are also entitled to reasonable paid time off to attend Unison or TUC approved training to ensure their knowledge is up to date with legislation and best practice. Where time off is granted, representatives receive the pay they would normally have earned had they been at work. Clear procedures are set out for requesting time off, providing notice and ensuring managers can plan appropriately. In summary, this updated Unison-provided model policy formalises how the Council supports trade union duties in a fair, transparent and legally compliant way. It strengthens partnership working and helps ensure workplace issues can be resolved constructively. For the committee's reference, Colchester City Council have also adopted this model policy, and Braintree District Council currently work without an agreement in place. The recommendations for this report can be found on page 127 of your agenda pack. And it is recommended that the Human Resources and Council Tax Committee approves and adopts the Council's updated Time Off and Facilities for Trade Union Activities Agreement, which consolidates and updates arrangements for trade union activities. Notes that in line with their existing delegated authority, the Assistant Director People, in consultation with the Head of Paid Service, will make any necessary and consequential amendments to associated people policies and procedures arising from the implementation of this updated agreement, and notes that using the same delegated authority, the Assistant Director People, in consultation with the Head of Paid Service, will make any further amendments required to ensure ongoing legal compliance, including changes that will arise under the Employment Rights Act 2025, particularly in relation to trade union activities. I'd welcome any questions.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to go back to your very well made point earlier this evening around our working relationship with the trade union. And I'm really pleased to say that it is a really positive working relationship. You know, we achieve a lot together as employer and trade union. Every report that you'll find in the document pack has been run past and the branch chair has been consulted and ensured they're supportive of the proposals put forward tonight. If there is any change management in terms of our structures, etc., again, they are undertaken in full consultation with our trade union colleagues. So we're very, very lucky that we have such a positive working relationship, and the updated agreement obviously will support that. Thank you.
Right. Any questions?
Just to reinforce what Katie's just said, if I remember rightly, last year or the year before, we had one of the union representatives come to committee as well, which is just cements the, reinforce what you just said. There are many authorities which have been given Section 114 notice, and some of the problem relate to employment dispute, and won't say any more on that. So it's a great place that we are, where we are with the relation with the unions, and if there wasn't, there would be different kettle of fish completely, because you'd have difference of opinion, and it's great to know that we are in the place that we are.
Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to say, because I am a member of a union, and the relationships my union have with our management is appalling. So to see a authority and a union working so well together is so nice to see, and it's nice that there's sort of grown-up relationships involved in it all. So well done to everybody involved. And also, can I say that the three policies that we've had tonight have been superb, especially when we're now looking at other authorities and comparing what they do to what you do, which we don't, I think, well, we don't seem to have noticed that over the last few years, but now it's come to highlight a lot more. Wow, you guys are doing an absolutely superb job, and TDC lead the way, and they're all going to be following and wishing. They're lucky that they're going to be working with you guys. So thank you very much.
Well said.
Well, it would be our kilter if I didn't ask if Colchester and Braintree have not got the same agreement with their unions. Do Colchester and Braintree have the same agreement with their unions?
Yeah, Colchester have adopted exactly the same model policy from Unison. Braintree don't have an agreement in place. But this is, as Kate was saying, we have such a strong working relationship with our Unison that this is a document that we've brought together together to work together on. So it's really important to us to have that strong working relationship with them. And I think as well, one of the first things we set up when we knew we were heading into LGR is Katie and I put together an LGR working group, and our Unison chair was the first person that came onto that group with us. So we've already been meeting with him for several months prior to us even getting to this point, to making sure we've got that open dialogue, and also to have the opportunity of being aware if any members have any concerns that they may not have brought up to HR. There's a route for us to access that information so we can give them that support really early on.
You answer my next question, which was obviously with coming up to LGR, there'll be a lot of, I mean, I know the support we give to our staff here is second to none, and everybody's supported and everybody's been reassured, but nevertheless, the unions will have to be very closely involved in the transition time, and with having the relationship we got, it puts us around on the right foot. And happy to move it.
Do you know how many of our staff are actually in the union? Because I don't think it's that high, is it?
Membership sits at around 20%. So in terms of, you know, others, that's quite a low sort of number. And I think that says where we are in terms of staff's trust, and that they're feeling supported and reassured, particularly in the context of local government reorganisation. So that's a positive for us.
You took my words.
Sorry, Chair.
That's all right. Right, I had a proposer, I think, didn't Gemma, and a seconder? Yeah. Thank you very much. I think that's the end. It is.